I understand these little perspective theory video presentations, but nobody ever explains how you know where to put the vanishing points. They just seem to magically appear during the presentation. Have you ever had this problem, this dilemma, this wondering, but how do I know where to put the vanishing points so that my perspective is correct? There's two parts to answering this question fully. Two quite different drawing situations. And the first part, you'll be pleased to know, is really very simple. And that's that often you don't need to worry about where the vanishing points are at all. When you copy from life or copy from a photo, you don't need to position the vanishing points on the eye level because they're already decided for you. The problem is that perspective teaching videos usually don't tell us this. And because we see them positioned in these little teaching video diagrams, we assume that somehow we have to be placing them every time we're drawing something if we're going to get the perspective correct. But while it's not necessary to think about vanishing points at all if we're drawing from life or a photo, I think they can still be very helpful to understand. So let me explain why, and then we'll look at the second situation when positioning vanishing points is probably going to be quite important for our drawing. Having watched these 2-point perspective videos, we know that these perspective angles formed by the way the building looks as it slopes away from us on any one side all meet at the same point, at the vanishing point. And in 2-point perspective, there are 2 vanishing points, one on each side. But instead of looking at one of these, let's look at a photo. Now we know these perspective angles meet at the vanishing point. So when we look at our real life photo, in fact, we can see that these perspective angles on this side of the building do all meet in the one spot. And if we draw a straight line across that spot, we can see that that's the place where instead of having an angle one way or the other, we actually do get a straight line, and that's our eye level. You might notice it's not the eye level of the person in the photo, and that's because the ground is sloping down and I was on lower ground than he was when I took the photo. So my eye level, and therefore the eye level of the photo, is lower than his. And if we look at the perspective angles on the other side of the building, we can't actually see where they join, but we certainly can get a very confident indication that in fact they will all meet in the one spot on this same line. Because once we have eye level in a scene, it's going to be the line that all the vanishing points, whether there's 1, 2, or 20, meet on. This scene does show another one of the problems with vanishing points is that they are often far off our reference, and they will be far off the paper that we're going to be drawing on. So if I were drawing this building, it's not really practical for me to set up so that I could actually establish the vanishing points. And I don't need to. What I need to do is to draw what I see in front of me. When I'm looking at a scene from life, this doesn't tell me what I have to do. This describes to me what I'm seeing, as we just saw when we had these perspective angle lines in place. What we're seeing here, in fact, these little videos and little diagrams describe what we're looking at. They don't tell us what we have to do. And therefore we don't have to work out where to put the vanishing points either here or here, because the scene itself, the place where the photographer was standing, has established where the vanishing points will be. And the fact that they're right off to the sides isn't a problem, because what I have to do is learn to observe carefully what the angle is and draw that angle. When I draw, if I'm drawing from a photo, I'll measure the angle with my pen and then bring my pen across to give me a rough sense of the angle, or to check the angle that I've already roughed in and then make adjustments if need be. So what I really need to do is to learn to observe carefully my reference and to draw it accurately. I see so many drawings where most of these perspective lines are actually parallel. instead of increasing in angle in a fan shape as they get higher. And the only way we can look at this and draw this is because we actually haven't observed carefully enough to see this pattern of angles increasing. So our biggest problem is not understanding this, it's learning to observe what's actually happening here in our reference before we put the pen on paper, and to work out exactly what these angles are and how steep they're becoming, rather than a quick glance and thinking, oh yeah, I know, they're all sloping, and then drawing a series of parallel lines in our drawing. So where these diagrams are incredibly helpful to know and to understand is that they tell us what to expect when we're looking at a building. And I find this helps me particularly with these uppermost lines to push myself to increase the angle, because if I draw it accurately, it will look right. Let's look at another example. Here's a 1-point perspective photograph. And it's the same thing. I know that all of these lines for parallel structures on this page will all converge into the one point, into the one vanishing point. My 1-point perspective theory diagrams show me this. And again, I don't need to actually have this all measured out on my paper and have a vanishing point plotted and then draw all lines to the vanishing point. What I need to do is learn to observe the angles of these lines carefully and draw them accurately. But if I know they all converge in the one spot, then that helps me see this convergence. This helps me see the true angles more easily. It gives me a head start in understanding what's happening and in seeing it in my scene, and therefore an advantage in drawing the scene that I may not have had if I purely had to rely on observation. This also tells us that eye level is going to be about here, which makes sense. I was standing at the top of a steep flight of stairs in Montmartre, and this was about level with where my head was in relation to this scene. But again, I'm not drawing this like this because I've plotted this point. But understanding that this is what's going to happen helps me to see it happening, and particularly in an unusual view such as this, or a view where I have some really extreme angles, such as at the top and the bottom of the left-hand building, it's very helpful to know this is how it's going to work. Again, it makes it easier for me to see what's happening. I don't need to know about 1-point perspective to be able to accurately draw what I see, but it helps me understand what I'm seeing. We'll look at one more example that again shows us something a little bit different. At a glance, our third example looks pretty similar. We line up our perspective angles. And they all join up at the vanishing point, which also gives us our eye level. We can see that here we have a line going this way, so the straight line will be above that about here. And we can see that it's actually lines up with the eye level of the closest people to us because I was on level ground. And even if we look at this very extreme angle on the front of the National Gallery's portico, we can see it lines up there. But I just want to highlight this building behind. Its angles do not meet up at that same vanishing point. But what we see is in this building further down from the National Gallery, which is actually St Martin's in the Field Church on Trafalgar Square, that its angles still do line up on the same eye level, because there is only one eye level for any one scene, and all vanishing points must be on that eye level. Here's a different perspective diagram that you may not have seen, but it's from my video on perspective in curved streets. But this looks at the situation where you have buildings that line up in parallel rows, but then where you have another building that goes off at an angle, showing how in fact that building will have a different vanishing point to, in this case, the 1-point vanishing point of these two sides of the street. And if we take all of these away, it becomes clearer now when we look more carefully that St. Martin's in the Field does not line up on the same plane as the National Gallery, that it angles slightly on the other side of the road between them. But again, if we understand perspective theory and vanishing points from our perspective diagrams, it helps us to see what's here. And again, while we can just carefully observe these angles and draw them, if I know that these angles will meet at a different place to these angles because I can see that this building does not align in a straight plane with this building, then that helps me to see what is happening faster and have more confidence in drawing those lines accurately. So that's the first point. But if we don't need to decide where to put our vanishing points when we're drawing from life or from photos, because those vanishing points are already decided by the scene in front of us, when do we need to decide ourselves where to put our vanishing points? But the time when we have to decide where we're going to put our vanishing points ourselves is when we're not drawing from a reference or from something in front of us, but when we're drawing from our imagination, when we are in fact creating the building, the scene, the very landscape that's in front of us. It's something I very rarely have to do myself because I like to draw from references. I love the architecture that I see around me and I really enjoy drawing it in a variety of styles. In fact, the only time I really need to create my own perspective and work out my own vanishing points is when I'm making these videos with these little perspective diagrams and I want to illustrate something about perspective and architecture, and so I need to create my own perspective in order to do that. In that case, I need to choose where my vanishing points will be. In these 5 little diagrams I created for my recent video on perspective for backgrounds, we can see the difference visually that simply shifting the eye level up or down creates in terms of what we see. And if we look at the visual effect in this room with a single vanishing point and compare it with a similar space with 2 vanishing points, we can see the very different feel that we get depending on how many vanishing points we get and where they are. And I'm sorry, but the truth is there's no video I can do to tell you where you want to place them, because where we place them depends on the effect we want to create, the visual effect of our finished drawing. So there can be a lot more trial and error trying to both create the space that we want and then to put objects in it. And if this is the sort of art you're wanting to do, whether it's background work for comics or whether it's creating environments for games, then I think the best option is simply to try a wide variety of perspective options, varying the eye level and also varying the vanishing points, both where the vanishing points are, but also how many of them we use. Because that's going to be the way that you start to develop an intuition almost for where you have to put the vanishing points and the eye level to create the sort of space or scene or background that you have in your imagination. And that video that I created these drawings for, Perspective for Backgrounds, is probably the closest I've come to having some teaching material just on that. So if you're interested, you could check that out. G'day, I'm Stephen Travers. Perspective is a great tool to understand, but there can sometimes be a big jump between watching this and the issues that we face when we draw. But when it comes to vanishing points, we really don't need to be overly concerned about them if we mostly draw from life or from a photo reference, but they can be tremendously helpful if we understand them in helping us to see what's actually in our reference more carefully and then give ourselves a chance to draw it more accurately. If we want to draw from our imagination, then we will need to choose where we put not just our vanishing points, but also our eye level. And what choices we make from an infinite number of possibilities really will depend on what we're trying to create in our drawing. And the only way we can really come to be able to make those choices well is by trialing a huge variety of possibilities and come to understand what effect they each create. And it's probably helpful doing that with a lot of very small, simple shapes or objects, and then choosing the ones that look most hopeful for more detailed work. I hope this has been helpful. If vanishing points have been something that you felt you somehow should be worried about but not quite sure really why or how. But whatever you're drawing and however you're drawing it, have fun. I'll see you next time. Bye.